Hi there, I'm Cheryl, and today we're going to make a nice little tag card. Wouldn't this look nice if you put it on like just a craft paper gift bag, and maybe, or you could maybe stamp it with the little lacy stamp we're using. And there's the inside. So this is what we're using. You need a piece of very vanilla thick cardstock, and this is 5.5 by 6.5, and it's scored and folded at 3.25 inches. So our tag is going to be 5.5 by 3.25. And I have a whole bunch of little things in here. I've already prepared the flowers, but I have a leaf. Oh no, I did that one too. Oh, well, I did all of them, but I'll explain to you what I did to these to make this shiny accent on them. And they have, actually, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it actually has some texture to it also. So, for these I used, let's see, where did it get to? Where did it go? Okay, I used the Ariana blooms, and I used not the largest one, but this flower, the next one down, and then the next one down from that. Those three. And I used the die to cut it out. And then from the Delightful Daisies, I used the leaves. I'm using just one of these large leaves, and that was this was stamped on old olive cardstock with Always Artichoke ink. Well, that's a retired color now. If you have it, you can use that, but if you don't, Mossy Meadow would be a good substitute. And the blossoms I stamped on, it's a designer paper that I had that Stampin' Up had out a while ago. It's retired now, and you see this was from the paper that went with the succulents, if you remember the succulent set. But if you don't have it, the Calypso coral cardstock will give you a very similar effect. So I stamped that on designer paper with early espresso, cut it out, and then I sponged the edges with early espresso. So that's how I did the flowers. And then I ran it through the oh dear, I should have that out here too. The let's see. Yeah, here it is. The oops, sorry. The 3D Floral Basics shaping mold, and that's the one like this, and that gives you a nice kind of crinkly texture. I'll open that up if I can get that off. So it gives you a nice little crinkly texture on your petals. So that's what we used for the flowers. And if I can get this back in the little case, that'd be wonderful. There we go. Okay, so we got the flowers. Got those out of the way. And I have some little bits and pieces here. Our lacy bits on here, I've already pre-cut. This is a little bit over half of this die from the Intricate Swirl frames. So right here would be half. So I cut it out here a little bit longer. A little bit bigger, we'll be using that. And then on my original card, I also used this die. I don't know if you can see it better on here. So we used that one, and I used this die. But for the life of me, I can't find it. I don't know where it went. I have no idea I suspect one of my cats got it and used it as a toy, and I may find it under a piece of furniture sometime, but I found a different die that was similar but not the same, so I'm going to be using this one. This is a die set I had got from AliExpress. Any oval smallish die that you have would work just as well. Let me give you a dimension on this. Let's see. So about 2 by 3, you know, just under 3 1/4 would work perfectly for the card. Or if you have this set, you can actually use this one, which I can't use because who knows where it is. And then I also used the very vintage stamp set. This is a hostess gift from Stampin' Up. If you place a $150 order, you get to choose $15 worth of free merchandise, and not just hostess gifts, but also anything in the catalog you can order as your gift. But this was such a pretty hostess gift stamp set, and I'm using the little lacy doily stamp from that. And I'll be using a stamp set from, I believe I got this on AliExpress too. I know a lot of you don't like to order from them. They take forever. The things come from China, I believe. But this one is such a nice stamp set. And it says, "May sunshine and joy fill this special day." And it has a little flourish. And it says, "Happy birthday." And that's what I used on the inside of the card. And then from Friendship's Sweet Thoughts, which is an older stamp set from Stampin' Up, I used Friendship's Sweetest Thoughts Blossom in the Heart. That goes on the front of the card. You know, you can use any sentiment that you have. So you don't have to limit yourself to what I'm using. Use what you have. Okay, so there's our little lacy stamp, and then I have the 2 sentiment ones there. To make this card just a little, I'm going to make this one a little bit different than the one that I have. So I stamped the Friendship's Sweetest Thoughts Blossom in the Heart on a piece of very vanilla cardstock with early espresso ink, and I sponged just very lightly all around the outside with the early espresso. Okay, I need these stamens. We're going to put these in the centers of our flowers. And these are the ones that look like rock candy, if you know what rock candy is. And of course then I have my piercing tool to go with that. I had some ribbon that I dyed to match. I used Cajun Craze ink to do that. And I have this ready to go, but I'll do a little demo on that. And then we need some sponges and sponge daubers. And we'll need a ruler, some scissors, a pencil, and a brush. And this is what I used on my flowers. Liquitex Gloss Super Heavy Gel, and that's what gives me the texture on them. If you don't have this, you don't want to use this, you can actually use the designer Dries Clear Adhesive, which we will be using on this card anyway, or something like put my hand on it right away, or like the Diamond Glaze. Anything that gives you a glossy surface. You just won't get as much texture as with this heavy gel. You'll get the shine, not the texture. So let's see, is there anything else we're going to need? Oh, the inks I used. Alright, I used a Tim Holtz Distress ink in the Antique Linen. That's such a nice color. I wish Stampin' Up would come out with a nice light ink. I don't like, you can stamp off and it's lighter. I don't like to do that. I'd rather just stamp in a lighter color ink. We're using Old Olive, Early Espresso, And then the Cajun Craze, which is what we're going to color the ribbon with. So, let me show you how I did my leaves. I'm gonna redo one. And I have my Liquitex stuff, and I'm gonna put that. I don't want to put that on that. That's dirty. That's got the Cajun Craze ink on it. Okay. You know what? I'm going to use my extra little small silicone mat. Just to keep my big mat in good shape. So it's very simple. Just use a rather stiff brush that you're not very fond of, and peel that back. We're going to get just a little bit of this Liquitex on here. This heavy, super heavy gel, and you just brush it on. And I like to go in the direction of what I think the veining on the leaves would be. You can see how I'm doing that. And the same with the flowers. I just brushed out from the center. And yes, it's white, but I promise it dries clear. Okay, so that's all there was to doing this, and it just has to set aside and dry for a while. So I'll close this up because this is such a big jar. If it doesn't dry out, it'll probably last the rest of my life. Okay, so we did that. Let's do the centers of our flowers because those are going to need some drying time. And I need my piercing tool. Let me get this out of here. Where can I put that? Oh, over there. Looks good. Clear a space here. And we're going to need to punch a rather large hole in the center because I put quite a large group of stamens in there. So, oh, there's my piercing pad. It's just a box. I got something in it in the mail, and that's what I used. Works perfectly fine for me. And I'm just gonna make that hole bigger with my scissors. Because like I said, we do need quite a bit of room to get those stamens down through there. Okay. Let me get some stamens out. Okay, that's good enough to pull some out. Oop. Okay, so I'll take the stamens, I'll line them up. As best I can. My hands are not working real well. We're redoing a very large overgrown garden in our front yard. And all that work on the garden is not making my hands happy. That's why you'll be seeing me using flowers that I already made or pre-made flowers for a while, I think. Okay, so I'll put that in a minute. So I just have all my stamens gathered together here. I'm going to try to twist this as best I can. Now, these that I have don't have the wire stems. If you can find them with wire stems, it would be better for you. And I put the Dries clear glue down there around the hole I made. I'm just going to work these through and bring them down in the center there. Then I'm going to take the Dries clear glue and I'm going to go like in between and just give it glue in between there because I want to make sure these are well attached. And like the name says, it's going to dry clear. But I'll just keep all my little stamens. They'll be attached to each other and to the flower. So there we go. So that's how we're doing these. And I'll do the others. This has to set aside to dry. And I'll do the other ones when I've stopped the video. But the next thing we need to do, because we have other things that need to dry, is we'll do the ribbon. And I just cut myself a little piece just to demo. And you'll need a piece about 12 inches long for the card. So I like to wet the. It's actually seam binding. It's 5/8 inch wide seam binding, and I got a huge spool of it on Amazon from these people, Zipper Stop. And look at this. Look at that. That's all seam binding there. And I got it in white. Well, Cheryl, you use a lot of white ribbon, I guess, or a lot of white seam binding. Well, no, I don't. Almost never. I dye it to match the cards. I have the grosgrain ribbon also. Look at all that ribbon. And I can make it any color I like. So that keeps me from having drawers and drawers full of different colors, which may or may not match my card. Okay, so I'm going to wet the ribbon. I'm going to take my Cajun Craze. You can see it's activated the dried Cajun Craze that's on the plastic already. So I take the Cajun Craze and I'm just going to get a good amount of that out on my plastic, you see there. And this is pretty messy. Oh, I'm going to use I'm going to try to be neat. Haha. I know this isn't going to work. I'm going to have to get my fingers in there. And you just get your ribbon all saturated with the color. I think we need a little bit more water there. Where did I put that sprayer? There it is. I just toss things around on my table. So I'm done with that. Just throw it off to the corner somewhere. There we go. You do want to get it pretty wet so that you get the color all through your seam binding. And depending on how you leave it dry, it will soak to one side or another, or one spot or another, and you'll get a little color variation. It's a very pretty technique. And I want it real crinkly, so I crinkle it up like this. And then I'll let that dry. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video right now. I'm going to finish putting stamens in the flowers. And we're going to let those dry. You would be drying your ribbon. Look, I have nice orange fingers now. I look like I've been eating Cheetos or something. So I'll be right back. You won't even miss me. Okay, I'm back, and our flowers are pretty much dry. We do want to have them totally dry before we get them ready to put them on the card. But let's get the card base going here. I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to measure in from the top edge of the card here. I'm going to measure in 1 inch. I make just a little mark here with my pencil. I don't know if you can see the mark because I made just a tiny little mark. And 1 inch down. We can do that on both sides here. So this tells us where we need to trim away for our corners. Okay, and there's another 1 inch. And you could take this to your trimmer, your paper trimmer, and line those little things up, but I find it's just as easy. I'm just going to connect those dots with my pencil, and I'm just going to trim it away with my scissors. So you'll want a larger pair of scissors. Don't use your little tiny fussy cutting scissors. And I'm going to put this right there. And it's not quite long enough to just do one stroke, but if you can, just one snip. Don't go ch-ch-ch-ch-ch, or you're going to have a jagged, uneven line there. Cut line. So I do the same on this side. See, I'm just a little bit short. There we go. I'll take my eraser. I can see just a little bit of that pencil there where I made my marks. I'll get rid of that. Then I'm going to use my Distress ink and my big makeup sponge here. You can see it's well chewed. The cats love this sponge. And I'm just going to ink up all around the edges here to give it that old distressed shabby chic look. And I'm going up onto the card a bit in places. Okay, so we've got that bit done. I'm going to take my, oh, I put my ink away. I need that out still. I'll take my lacy stamp, and that's got a nice distressed look too. I'm just going to stamp it in a couple different places on my card. And there we go. Got that done. Alright, now I'm going to bring in this part here where we just die cut a little over half of the die. And you see there's some little bits here that just don't look like they would belong. So I'm going to trim those off. So I'll just try to go with the curves that are in the die. So it looks like that. It doesn't look like we've trimmed bits off. And right here, need to round that a little bit. There we go. And we'll do the same on this one. Over here. Oh, and this side I didn't get. I got I'll just round that. Okay. So now this is going to get glued down on the front of our card, but first we're going to add a little more color to it. I'm going to use my old Olive. Get my sponge dauber here. And I always like to dab it off on my tray. That does two things. One, it dabs off some excess ink that I might have on there. Another thing, it works it down into the sponge so you don't get streaks. We don't want it streaky. And we're just adding a little color to this, so just in places. Not the whole thing. You want to be careful because it is a fairly delicate die. So some parts are a little lighter, some parts are a little darker, some that's just the very vanilla that we used to cut this out showing through. But just a little color, just so it stands out a little bit from the background. I think I'll add just a little more in places. Okay. Now we're going to glue that down on here. Where did my... Oh, I know where it is. It's out in the kitchen. I took my brush and my little my little silicone mat out in the kitchen. I'll get a sponge here and we'll just do it on my mat. So I'm just going to make myself a little puddle of my Dries clear glue. Here we can put that just about anywhere. Doesn't matter if I pick up some of that color. And I'll use just a little snip of these rougher sponges. I'm just going to dab that on here. And I'll glue that in place. See if I put enough on there. There we go. And you see we've got a little bit sticking out on the edge here. Just trim that off. Okay, so that's our bottom layer. And we'll put our sentiment on next. So I need my little sponge dauber I use for the early espresso. And do the same with that and daub that off here. I'm going to just do all around the edges here. Just so it pops out from the background a little bit. A little bit more. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to go around the edge of this a little bit more, I think, too. I have my sponge dauber with the, got that loaded with the early espresso. Okay, so that's ready. I'll do the same thing again. Just make myself a little puddle here. This is the easiest way I've found to attach these delicate lacy pieces. And I usually keep a sponge just for this. This one will have to get washed. Oh, I can use a little more. Okay, and then that can be attached. I'm gonna put the sentiment towards the top of the card this time. And it does extend just a tiny bit outside. And you might notice I got a little bit of it on here as I was putting the ink on, or as I was putting the glue on. I picked up some of the ink, got on the front. This is no big deal, because we're going to cover most of it, and if whatever doesn't get covered, well, it'll just add to the distressed look of the card. And we'll put that right up the top here. Alright. And before I go any further, I probably ought to punch the hole. So I have a hole punch. I'm just gonna sight it. And that looks about in the middle. Oop. Punch that hole out. Oh, I made a little boo-boo there. Well, we'll just have to hope for the best. So, be aware of where your hole is punching. Alright, now we'll get the flowers ready. We're going to go turn the flowers over. We're going to trim off as close to the flower as possible. And get these little thread ends of the stamens off. And we can decide where we want these to be. Down here, like that, I think looks nice. Where shall we have the leaf on this one? Let's have that coming out that way. Okay, so leaf will be the bottom layer. Oops, lost a sponge dauber. And I just put some of my Dries clear glue on the back here. And let's see, I wanted it right about there, I think. Hold that down, here we go, that's attached. And do the same with I'll put the big flower on next. I'll put that right there. The medium. Let's see, do I want it up here? Down here? I think I'll put it down here. I want to just kind of tuck that under the big one a little bit. And then we'll put the smallest one on. Oh, and this kind of made its own little shape here. I can kind of put that at a little bit of an angle here, maybe. There we go. And these are going to take a little while to dry. So I'm going to very carefully, because I got really close. Actually, it went right through. I can't think of a fix for that. Oops, we didn't stamp the inside of the card. Well, this is going to be difficult. Let me get the early espresso. We'll see if maybe we can get the inside of the card stamped without the flowers totally falling off. Okay, I got that inked up. Make sure I'm stamping it the right way. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, and straight up. And that worked pretty good. I just have to do an adjustment on this little flower here. And then we can thread our ribbon through. Well, we would if I hadn't punched too close to the edge. And do our bow. You would be tying this onto your package at this point. And then we want to make sure our ends are trimmed. So we want a nice little angle there. And this one already had one, but I'll do that again. And there we go. Our card is finished. So here's the original. You can see how I did that. And then here's the one that I just made. And I can see I don't have this very straight. Wonder if no, I'm not gonna be able to move it. Okay, well that's fine. So, if you've liked this video, be sure to hit the like button down below. If you want to see more of my videos, then hit the subscribe button. If there are any Stampin' Up! Products that you'd like to purchase, you can do that either through my Facebook page or my website, or my blog. It actually is. Not a website. Well, I guess it's a website too. But anyway, y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stampin'.